So this is everything you need to know about hiring a scooter in Bali. Firstly, it's awesome, but there's a few little bits you might want to consider. So I'm going to turn the camera around and talk you through a few bits. So basically there's a number of companies out there. The one that we chose to use was this one, Biker Go. Online, they operate in a number of places. And what you get with them is a selection of bikes. So I was out here with my wife, so we got this one here, which was more set up for carrying a passenger on the rear. So what you can see here, we've got a Yamaha M-Max 155, and we added that. With that, it came with that included drop off at the hotel and collection. There's a first aid kit inside, which I'll show you. There's some kind of insurance. We added this on the back, which is ideal for if you've got a passenger. It gives you the option to just pop the two helmets in there and use the storage in here. And then it came with like a USB phone cradle in there, first aid kit. So that's basically what you'll get all in with insurance. The extra dropped off for around £12 a day. We would drive this for kind of 2 or 3 days, and when we went to fill up, I think it cost us about £3 at the petrol station, of which there's different types, which I'll cover in a second. Okay, for those who haven't ridden a scooter before, I've only ridden one a couple of times back in the UK, but I was reasonably familiar with how they worked. The first one, when I picked it up, I was asked to do a little test, so I just had to drive it around the car park so I could brake and accelerate. The roads out here are mental though. The rule is basically organised chaos. Don't copy the locals, so don't drive on the pavements. Make sure you wear your helmets and don't go the wrong way down one-way streets, because that basically will just put up, the police are already looking out for people, tourists out here. They're being really quite strict on it. So if you don't do anything obvious, you're wearing your helmets, you use your indicators and things like that, you'll be fine when you're driving about. After a little bit, you'll just realise the organised chaos, how to position your bike, how to follow the locals, things like that. But you probably want to start off just somewhere slightly quieter on the roads before you get in the absolute carnage of places like Ubud or Seminyak, which is where we're at now. So we hired in both of them. Now, what I'll do is I'll show you roughly the basic features of a bike, so at least you've got a head start. If you've never touched one, you're watching this and then you're about to jump on one in Bali. So with the bikes, you've basically got 2 kickstands. You've got this main parking one, and you've got the smaller one, which also cuts off the ignition. With the main parking one, basically when you sit on the bike, once it's on, all you're going to do is kind of, with 2 hands, just rock the bike forward, and that will take it off that kickstand at the rear. And then you're able, most of the locals will just use that kickstand when they're here. What you'll see is the bike leans over a fair bit, but most of them just park it like that for convenience, and it'll cut out the engine. Now what we did was we used the main parking brake, and for that you basically put this down, and then you're going to keep kind of stamping down on it as you push the bike backwards. Like so. It can take a little bit of a heave, but that'll basically put the bike back. Now in terms of the use, this one was keys, but the previous one was keyless. Your first stop will be to this kind of push shut or open. The other one we had, you kind of had to push it down, but that will then enable you to operate the seat. So that storage will, here you can see the first aid kit, but also you can pretty much put a full rucksack in there with your stuff for the beach. And then at the same time, pushing the fuel will then bring this up, and that's where you'll open that up and fill it up with the fuel. Just when you fill it up, you just take it to the petrol station to stay full to them. Now, to give you an idea of the space in the rear, so as you can see there, by popping the 2 helmets in the rear, it gave us all that extra space. Now the locals will just hang them on the as you can see over there, they'll just put them on like that. But the last thing you want to do, even though it's for, you know, I think they charge about £25 to replace them out here, but you know, if you've lost it and then you're driving and then the police get you and then you're going to have to pay a bribe or a fine or whatever, we found for the 2 of us it was easier to do that. I think you'd probably be able to fit 1 in there, but then what you're going to do with your beach stuff. Now other stuff, so we had some of them have a little charging cradle just inside there. Sorry, not a charging kit, a charge point. So it's more like the 9-volt cigarette lighter. Other ones had USBs in. Now this one here had a little port just on the side there, so we could plug it in, and then it actually held the phone on nice and tightly once it was tied up. Now you're going to have to decide whether or not you drive around with that on or not. The areas we were in, we were fairly confident that this was so tight on. The area was okay, that we weren't too concerned, but we have heard of areas where bikes have come alongside and they will snatch the phones off. But driving around here, just having Google Maps on the phone was absolutely ideal for us. It made life so much easier, so we took the option and we used that. Now in terms of the buttons that you have, basically I'll bring us to the ignition. So you turn the key and so you get your ignition on there, obviously fuel and all the other stuff here. Now your main things are, this is just a handhold that won't move, and on this side this is your kind of twist and go. So as you turn that, your bike will accelerate. Button wise, or brake wise, you're primarily going to use the rear brake. So basically just treat it like you would a bike, a normal pedal bike at home. So that's your rear brake, and every now and then, maybe when you're going down a steep hill, you might use your front brake gently as well. You'll always drive around kind of on some form of lights on, which is this. So they're your kind of dip beams or their high beams. Indicator left and right. These aren't also cancel. So initially you might find you do the indication, you're still driving along with them on, you're just pushing in the middle. You've got your horn at the minute, and basically the horn is just used all the time around here for letting people know you're passing by, letting people know there's a hazard. Just general communication is by the horn. You've got stop start on here, so you're going to always have the engine cut off to the off setting, because you don't want that cutting out all the time. You've got your hazards on and off, and then this is your ignition here. So that's all the basic settings. So basically you'll get on the bike, you'll be probably on the kickstand. When my wife got on, you've got two options. Either you can have the kickstand and they can get off, and then you can move it forward. We generally found the easiest way was to be off the kickstand. I'd be like this, usually the bike running, and she would then just climb on, placing her feet on the pegs on each side. So to turn it on, you're going to have it on the ignition. You have to have the a brake depressed, and then you're going to push the ignition down here, and that fires up the bike. So now I can release the ignition. If I was to put that smaller kickstand down, the engine would now cut out. So I'm just going to bring close, just stop it rattling for the video. Now anything beyond, if you're off brake, anything beyond the smallest amount will have you moving basically. And you know, when we didn't max this out, but we were getting up around 82 kilometers an hour, which I think is around the mid 50 miles per hour. But basically, once you're in this position now, you're just going to have a couple of fingers resting lightly on the brake, and then you're just going to be controlling your speed using your twist and go. Heavy hill, like steep hills, you're just going to maybe bring in the front brake, but primarily you're on this. And then basically for riding, just treat it like you would a pedal bike. So at slow speeds, you're really just going to be try and keep yourself moving. So you're just going to you kind of watch the traffic, and you're just going to tweak the throttle a little bit just to keep yourself moving, but your arms will come a lot more into play. You're going to be trying to balancing yourself just with the handlebars a little bit. But once you get out those few kind of low miles an hour, just like you're on a pedal bike, after you're at that and you're moving forward, the bike will pretty much just want to right itself. It will want to stay vertical. Just going to put it like, it will want to stay upright. And at that point, you're really just kind of just using your hips, your body weight, ever so slight movement of a handle as you're riding around. So, and then to turn everything off, I could either hit the kickstand, or you're just going to turn the engine off like that. So in summary, it's brilliant. We experienced Bali before we had a bike, and having it after, the freedom, the driving, the getting around, the traffic, everything was absolutely awesome. So if you're thinking about getting one, we thought it was brilliant, but you've got to have that kind of mentality of getting over the bump, of knowing it is going to be hectic and dangerous, and you're going to have to become confident quickly on it. Now, if you've never ever touched one before, that's going to be quite a tricky one. But I mean, I'd literally just driven a friend a few times back in the UK, and I was fine on this within 5 minutes just for driving around. But then competence in the towns and stuff, maybe half a day or so, and then a full day absolutely fine cutting around with all the locals. You'll find bikes available everywhere. We used this one here because we found it was quite reputable. Their service was good, tracking the drop off. It's just a professional outfit, and you've got a decent bike, and you can select all the options you want. And then your general functions and stuff I've been through. So I've shown you kind of roughly how to use the two different kickstands. So the main one down here. Or the smaller kickstand there. You've seen the storage that you've got here, and you've seen the storage you can elect to have. Now, not many of other people have them, so actually finding the bike was a lot easier with this. If you don't have something like that standing out, put a ribbon, put something on it just so you can find your bike. Maybe even put an Apple AirTag in it, or pin it. Because what you do find, I know I should be telling you more things as I'm chatting, but what you will find is you might park up your bike in a car park, and then you'll go shopping, you'll come back, your bike will have moved, because what they've done is someone's parked really close to you, or spaces have moved out, and people literally like lift up the bikes and move them. So it just helps find it, so when you come back you don't think it's been stolen. I've then shown you like roughly how to operate it. It is very straightforward. You know, throttle, rear brake, occasionally the front brake, and then basically your lights, a horn, indicators, that kind of stuff. And then basically when you're riding it, just treat it pretty much just like a pedal bike, a heavy pedal bike. So low speeds, you're trying to keep your balance a bit more, maybe using your arms a little bit more. But if you can read the road and slow down and just keep your movement going, the bike will naturally just want to sit and stay. And then when you get on the open road, it's less arms, it's more just using your body weight to kind of move around. I'm not a bike rider back in the UK, so this is just I'm pretty much your Joe Blog, just hiring a scooter in Bali. And then going around, choose to use your phone or not. We found it really helped to navigate, because it then enabled me to kind of look out and about. You've got your person on the back just going to use the kickstands, and they're going to not hold on to the frame here, they're going to kind of just hold on, and I can show those, you're going to hold on just under these parts here, so they're kind of holding just behind them, and it's important for them not to be moving and throwing the bike off. They need to sit nice and straight, or they can maybe put their arms around you, but that enables them to brace up. And also if you've got a passenger, they can lean against there as well. So yeah, we use the maps. It's hectic out there. There's no rules of the road, other than people stop for the red lights. Other than that, they're up on the pavements, they're going down one-way streets, alleyways, all that kind of stuff. So wear your helmet, don't do all the stuff the locals do, and you won't have a tag on your back for the police to stop you. You'll be all right, they'll let you go. Make sure you've got a European driving licence. It's only like £5 before you come out. You can buy them through this company. I think it's around £50 though, but just bring that out. I've shown you all that. I had a lot of chat about how to do it. I hope the video helps anyone, because I did exactly the same. I got out here and we were like, do we get a scooter or not? And you're going through all the YouTubes, and everyone's going, you know, from the scale of, no, absolutely don't, it's a death trap, so yeah, get on one. So we did it, but I'm just someone who was willing to be confident with it, basically. So I hope this has helped inform your choice if you're out here or looking to ride a scooter out here. We loved it, enjoy Bali, all the best, take care, and see you.